leaders, and specifically a study on what are the rules for the leaders. Now we have the leader or the rules for the king. Now that's an easy one to find, but the rules for the leaders are a little bit more difficult to find. And there are some things in there that we just wouldn't think of that are going to very well flow from the issue that when the Messiah returns, he's going to stand in the place of Moses as our prince, and so things will have to go. So, with that being said, and that's just a very preliminary, I didn't want to get too far with that wording, so I kept it vague at the end, made it actually somewhat nonsensical. The word for leader is nasi, N-A-S-I-Y, N-A-S-I-Y. Leaders report to Moses. Now we have this a number of times through the Torah, Exodus 16:22, and again we've got many others where they do that. And in fact they report to the leader, and again if it said to Moses then it should be to the leader, which we would think of as when the leadership comes, or when the Messiah comes back, it would be to the Messiah. But we also have, and again we have that as well in 32:2 of, I want to say that's Numbers 32:2. Some of the tribes went out and asked, and the leaders to ask for land, and again they help assign the land. So that is one of the other issues on a leader. A leader should be assigning the land and really locking in where things go. When it comes, and we're going to come back to this issue of reporting, because that's a huge issue because of the two silver trumpets. And if there's one blast, then the leadership comes, and if there's two blasts, then everybody comes. And that is, I think, one of the larger issues that will be dealt with when we go back, is trying to make it so if the two trumpets are blown, that everybody can come almost at once and be there within hours and not weeks, because it would be a logistical nightmare to get 3 or 5 or 10 million people into Jerusalem without trying to change the roads that we currently have or something. I mean, it's just, there would be problems there. So, but we certainly want to get it to where everybody can get there very quickly. One of the rules is actually on a flip side. So it is for the people not to curse the ruler of your people. That's Exodus 22:28. In Exodus 34:31, Moses speaks to the rulers of the community. And, he basically, things come down. So he does it, and the leaders, he talks to the leaders, and that would be the 12 leaders. And then the 12 leaders, I'm quite certain, are going to go out and speak to the leaders of the clans, and then it's just kind of things flow down. However, at the same time, they report on problems, and then they see problems, they bring those problems up. And so again, it's a hierarchy type based. One of the issues, and where you can try to identify who the leadership is they're going to be the ones bringing the breastplate stones. Now, there's some other things as it pertains to a leader. One, it's an expensive job. It's not one that pays, it's one that the leader spends money to have. One aspect on there, which may not mean that much of a difference to most of us, but again, it's Torah, so it doesn't matter, we follow it no matter what. A leader under Leviticus 4:22, he brings a male goat. Everyone else is bringing a female goat. So, of the Israelites, not dealing with the Levites or the prince or anything like that, a leader brings a male goat and everybody else is a female goat. We know from Numbers 1:16 the leaders are appointed. And this is where it gets really interesting. The Numbers 1:44, when there is a census, which as far as I know there's only 2 of them, and I assume there's only going to be 2 of them, it's the leaders that count their own tribes for the numbers or census. And so when they're counting the people in their tribes and clans, they're also collecting that money, because each male that is a warrior age male owes a half a shekel. If he's, a warrior age man, so over 20 and still fit for battle, he owes a half a shekel at a census. Now again, Numbers 2, as we camp around the tribes, we camp actually around the leaders. The leaders are the ones who start that for where we sit and place our tents. One of the interesting things is when a tabernacle or a temple, and I'm assuming it's the same for a temple, but it certainly is this for the tabernacle. When the tabernacle is open and consecrated, after that, the leaders of the clans come and they make offerings. And it's a one-day offering for each clan. That's in Numbers 7:2. And so, Judah will come in, Gad comes in. I think actually Gad is first. But they come in, they make their offering, which is a large offering. And then they also have to bring silver and gold. And for this silver, they're bringing a silver plate that weighs 130 shekels. They're bringing a silver bowl weighing 70 shekels. I doubt these are very smooth, simple bowls. I imagine these are highly decorative pieces. Each of those are filled with the finest flour mixed with olive oil. And then a spoon, one gold spoon weighing 10 shekels filled with incense. So again, if you're doing this, these things are going to be things that they would have to bring in. Now, I said it was a larger offering. That's one bull, one ram, one male lamb. Those are for the burnt offerings. Then one male goat for a sin offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 male goats, and 5 male lambs as a fellowship offering. And then you bring in, that plate, 130 shekels. Well, that's 47.6 ounces of silver. That's not a small amount of silver. And the bowl is 70 shekels, and that's 25.6 ounces of silver. So again, these are not small things. And that spoon is 3.6 troy ounces of pure gold. So there's that factor. We know from Numbers 13 that leaders are sent out as spies. But the list of the leaders from the tribes and the ones who went out as spies were different. So this clearly shows that a leader can also be just a leader of a clan. So in other words, if it said this is the leader of Judah, for instance, if you look it up and then you look at the spies, it's a different one, because Caleb was the leader of the clan from Judah that went out for the spy. So he was one of the clan leaders. He became the leader of the actual tribe itself because of some issues there. And what are those issues? Well, number 16:2, 250 leaders revolted. It didn't work out too well for them. If that wasn't bad enough, we have in 25:14, Simeon's leader was sleeping with a Moab woman. And so he didn't, Eleazar pretty well dealt with him pretty quickly and easily. Those are the issues that we have. So in other words, I think the bigger issue once we return to the kingdom, and all this is pretty well taken care of, we're in our tribal land, and I have looked at where the airports are, because if a silver trumpet is blown, if you've got the one blast of that silver trumpet, the leadership must come. And obviously it's the Messiah calling them. I don't think he wants to wait the 6 and 8 or 9 hours for them to drive there. And that's if you can get there that fast, without traffic or something. And again, that's a direct route, which we know from roads there's no direct route. So with that being said, what I'm actually anticipating is that each leader will almost basically be flying and doing a plane and going back with a plane. Now there is an airport right outside of Jerusalem that is abandoned, Ararat Airport, and it's about a 7-mile, actually 7.2 mile drive as I've done the maps, to get to where our temple should be after that. The problem is, one, when the trumpet is blown, those leaders are coming, and they're coming and running, and who's paying for that plane trip? And I think that comes from the leaders. The leaders basically say, listen, he calls, I come, and this is my job to pay for this. That's not a cheap thing. And in addition to which, when they land, they pretty much have to have a vehicle there. But if you've ever tried to look around Jerusalem, around the Temple Mount area, it is packed with people. It will be no less packed, and actually more packed when we go back to the land, because we will have a temple there. And so it will be packed beyond packed. So I doubt he's, if you can get there, and again, if you've got a fast enough plane, you can get from your tribal land to that airport in about a half an hour. Small, and I'm not talking about a giant commercial airliner. I'm talking about small planes that fly fast. So you're there in a half an hour. Now that's reasonable, and that's something I think the Messiah can say, okay, I can wait an hour. I called you, you've got an hour to get here. But that last 7.1 miles, I think they're almost having to be on like a motorcycle so they can weave through that traffic, which is somewhat dangerous. Maybe they put a siren on there, something like that, but they're trying to get there quick because they've been called. And again, hopefully it's not a rainy day. Motorcycles in rain don't do too well. And again, if you had a car, a small car, I just don't think you're going to get around that traffic. And that's the problem with Jerusalem, the old city. Once you hit the French quarter of the French Hill, which is as you would come in from that airport, Ararat Airport, it's Katie bar the door. You're in pure traffic, and a leader is trying to get there because he's been called, and traffic is just something that is an annoyance that he's got to get past. So again, I think those are factors that I would see. It's kind of weird, but it's an interesting thing. As always, leadership serves, and when you start looking at, okay, what are the gas prices for these planes? Because if you just get like a little Cessna, which you would think, okay, well, I can afford a little Cessna, it's not too bad with gas. Well, it's not coming fast enough. If you're coming from the tribe of Dan, you're looking at about 170 miles. You're not going to be able to do it with a little Cessna. It's just, you have to have something much faster, at least 300 miles an hour. I would say closer to 400 miles an hour to get there fast, because you've got the time that the leader has when he hears the call to get to the airport, to go through the pre-flight checklist, to get in the plane, to get the plane there. And of course all the other leaders are trying to land at the same time, so it's just a cluster as they're trying to land. So just one of the things as I try to walk it through.